You want to make sure to purchase your own domain name. The reason being is if you ever switch and you have someone else to manage your websites or your applications, then you want to be able to have that information, your login, your website credentials and things like that handy so you can pass it on to the next person who helps you. It can be a pain, trust me, trying to locate that if you did not purchase it yourself. It only holds you up. The next thing you want to know about owning your domain name is make sure you purchase a related domain name, one that is relative to your business. It lets people know exactly what you do, like rondaswebsites.com or therondakShow.com. I own that one. So when you hear that name, you know exactly what it is. Another thing is you want to make sure that it can be spelled easily, so make it short, keep it sweet. The other thing is you want to never let your domains expire. There are people out there who are always watching and waiting for good names to expire, and then they snatch them up right then. And I lost a domain name like that one time, zoelife.org, and I did not know that it had expired, and when I went to renew it, someone else had bought it because I didn't realize it had expired. Okay, the next thing you want is to make sure your business and contact information on your website is easy to access, easy to find. You want to put it somewhere. Maybe if you don't put it at the top of the site, it's not always practical. You want to make sure that it is found in the footer because that's where people will look for your domain name and your address and contact information. Okay, the next thing you want is to make sure that you have legal terms of service, your privacy policy, if you offer refunds, you know how people will access refunds, what's that process? On terms of service, if they're using your website, how can they use your website? What are the rules? What can they or can they not do as it relates to the content and the services that you have available on your website? The next thing is your privacy policy. With your privacy policy, you just want to be clear on whether you are going to sell their information to someone else or not, whether you are going to keep their information private. That determines whether or not a person will sign in or sign up on your opt-in form that's on your website, because there is a lot of spam going around. There are a lot of people who actually sell third-party services. Don't just give your name and email to any company. Make sure you know exactly how they're going to use your information. And this goes for when you're downloading these apps. Make sure you know exactly how that app intends to use your information, whether the app is going to download photos, and if they download the photos, what they plan on doing with the photos. You don't want them to be able to take photos or information and use that information to sell it to other people or display it in another location somewhere. When do you want to update your website? How often do you want to update your website? You want to make sure to have all of your content ready in advance, and this way it won't prolong the development or the creation of your new section on your website. Make sure you have all images, all text, make sure it's proofread so that when you hand it off to the developer, their only concern is to put it together. Now we're going to talk about images. A picture really is worth 1,000 words. And so when it comes to your website, one of the secrets I always tell people, you could have very little technology, but if you have nice imagery, professional graphics, nice fonts, then your website can look like $1,000,000. So make sure to have your website's images and photos professionally done. The other thing I want to talk about with that is when it comes to photos that you're going to use on the web, while you want high quality, you want to make sure that the image size is not larger than it needs to be. And that's where your graphic person or your photo person will come in handy, because they can size those photos to the exact specification that your website person needs them to be. So SEO, if you're going to be found on the internet, you have to have SEO built into your website. WordPress is a good platform for handling SEO and for accommodating for SEO. One secret I'll share with you: if you have someone who writes your content, search engines will look for the title and the very first paragraph and use it as what they optimize your page or place in the search engines for your website or a particular page. So if you don't have a person, for instance, to do the SEO for you or search engine optimize your website for you, then make sure your website can be found by writing a title that is relevant to what the content on the page is, and the paragraph supports the title, so that when someone searches for cakes made from scratch, for instance, that might be in the title of your web page, and your supporting information would be pictures of cakes made from scratch, and you would talk about cakes made from scratch in the first paragraph. SEO, I'm going to define that term for you, and I'm reading it. It is the process of making your website easy to find in the search engines. And I'm paraphrasing what I learned about SEO in a nutshell. SEO is simply putting anything, whether it's text, images, video, titles, and information on your website or the page that supports the search engine being able to pick it up. You don't want someone to come to your website for Air Jordans and you are talking about baking cakes on your website. That's going to confuse the search engines. So be specific when it comes to the content and limit what you put on your website for relevant content. If your website is all about shoes, then you want to make sure all of the content on your website is all about shoes. That's only going to make it easier for people to find you. And it's only going to make it easier for, if you do hire someone to do search engine optimization, it'll make it easier for them to organize your site so that you can be found easily and at the top of Google. The next thing, and this is tip number 8, we want to talk about automation. Anything that you can do repetitively, such as email, blog posts, social media, you'll want to automate that. And let me give you an example. For email, you'll want to write a series of emails that can automatically go out to clients once they sign up or opt into your email list. And when someone opts to my email list, what happens is a series of about 6 emails plus whatever I promised them will go out to them automatically. I do that work once, and then it is repeated automatically on a schedule. So when you sign up on Let's Talk Productions, you got this free video, and following this free video, you'll get another series of emails, and they happen automatically over a period of time. My recommendation is to set up about 12, one that goes out every month, and that keeps you communicating with your clients at a minimum of once a month. Then what you'll want to do after that is, if you have something in between, that'll just be extra. But just make sure not to over communicate or bug your clients unless you have something really valuable to share. And then when it comes time for them to buy from you, because you don't spam them, If your information is very valuable, then they'll want to hear from you all the time. And when you have an offer, they'll be interested because they can trust you. With your blog posts, it's kind of different, but not, because you're not contacting people directly, but you can automate the posting of your articles on your blog. If you hire a writer, for instance, it gets even easier than that. Have your writer create 12 articles for you and have those articles set to automatically publish one time per month. And that keeps your content on your website updated. And that keeps Google happy, or the search engine happy, because you don't just have a dormant site sitting out there that never gets updated. And that helps with your website rankings. The other thing you can automate on your website is social media. You can automate posts from your website to your social media. And there are tools out there. And if you look on my website, there will be articles relative to that. I won't put it in this video, but a lot of the stuff that I'm telling you here will be detailed on the website. I want to keep this video pretty short. The next thing you want to do, and this is very important, is you'll want to make sure you have secure and reliable hosting. You want to make sure your site never goes down. And the way you do that is you make sure that your website is not on shared hosting. And what I mean by that, there are companies that provide WordPress services, and it's easy to get set up, and they have one click. But who's providing the security for you when you sign up? Are you responsible for providing the security? What happens if you get hacked? Do you have to go and pay someone extra? Different questions like that is what you'll want to consider. I recommend what is called VPS Hosting, and that gives you a virtual private type server that you can control and you can give access to a developer. It costs a little bit more, but it's worth that for your peace of mind. Of course, starting out, if you aren't able to do something like that in the beginning, then I would recommend Leasy.net, which is my own website platform, where it is on a virtual private server. Whenever it gets updated, you don't have to do that automatically. It's not something you have to worry about specifically. It is also good for small companies that maybe have 1 or 2 employees or just themselves. But starting out, if you don't have a lot of traffic and you need to use something like that, then Leasy.net will be a one solution that the only thing you're worried about is the content on your website, and everything else is automatic for you. Lastly, SSL. That is huge and is becoming more and more important every day. An SSL is a secure socket layer. It is a security certificate that makes your website safe for people to purchase off of. So what you want to do is make sure to purchase a security certificate. You have to renew it once a year, but when people complete forms on your website, when people fill out payment information, then they can feel secure when using your website, and it makes them at ease. These are all the tips that I have to share for you today. Stay tuned, keep watching, visit my website often, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate.